Oh, I was saying, do we just like treat it as if they're just doing a podcast? Is that how this usually goes?
Yeah, it is a podcast.
It is a podcast. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's like
we are,
simply not.
we are casting pods to the wind.
Wait, you're streaming this?
He's
Yeah.
streaming this.
No, you don't have anything you don't want to say live over the air, do you?
I mean, no.
Don't
I mean, I
don't
can
say
think of
don't say anything that'll get us demonetized.
things. You don't have money. Well, you don't get monetized.
Pay us. What's up, bookers? It's your boy, Poldy Chan. Pleased to announce, literature group has ended. Book club is in.
Yeah.
As promised. I have completed chapter 15. Read the whole damn thing. So we're back to book club. We are now on chapter 16, which is the first chapter of part 3. This
I'm a
is
special guest.
yeah, special guest and new audience stand-in because Nick is late. Josh.
Yeah. I say unusually racist things without meaning to.
Don't do that.
And sometimes with me too.
Hey.
Oh
hey.
well,
Listen,
when someone
only
needs
as the jest.
when someone needs to read out the slurs.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll say
you
them, I'll
taken
say 'em
20
proudly.
Have you taken 23andMe?
No,
1%.
I want to though.
1% North African, baby.
Dude, my dad was born in. Well, okay, he lived in Morocco. I'm pretty sure I'm black now.
Oh no! Stop before all of us get canceled.
No. Like, wait, you're allowed to be black. Wait, hold on, Brandon. I can't be black.
You're allowed. No, being black is banned.
What? Whoa, you should get demonetized. I should run this bullshit. What the hell?
Okay, did you read the chapter? By all means, come take over.
What book?
So this chapter is called Eumaeus. Eumaeus.
You may as well not read it.
Good one.
I want to die. Eumaeus,
Fine.
which is Odysseus's field hand.
Oh, off to a great start. No, take me back to chapter 15.
Avery, they're running a very important podcast. Get the
He just
fuck off
just
the
knocked
stream.
on my door to ask if we were doing book club.
Get in the channel. Fuck
Like-
you.
Anyway, so Eumaeus
Blow my
is
load.
Odysseus's field hand. So in the Odyssey, when Odysseus is like about to get back to Greece, he goes and he talks to Athena, who turns him into an old man and is like, "You should go talk to Eumaeus." So he does, and Eumaeus is like, "Oh, who's this old dude? Better invite him into my meager shack." And then Odysseus is like, "Surprise, it's actually me, your master." And then they devise
Yeah.
this scheme to kill the other suitors. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the scheme is lock the door and then just like shoot all of
Odysseus
them
goes
with your
ham.
bow, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
Wait, so this is related to the Odyssey?
No.
perhaps.
Only the footnotes are. Anyway, that's the summary of Eumaeus. The only thing that this chapter has to do with Eumaeus is that it's titled Eumaeus in the supplementary works. Yeah. The Odyssey parallels are tenuous at best. This chapter is actually about Dante's Inferno, I
That's
think.
pretty cool.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, yeah, we'll talk about that. So, one of the first things you'll notice if you've been paying attention is that, unlike the transition from part 1, chapter 3, to part 4, or part 2, chapter 4, which cuts from Steve and, like, wandering down the beach. I think that's what was happening at the end of chapter 3, to Bloom in the morning. It takes place like immediately after. The only real difference is that the fantastique musical style is now like back to the normal bloomy prose.
Of a sort.
Yeah, it's basically back to the normal prose. So if you'll recall, at the end of chapter 15, I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what happened, but I'm pretty sure that drunk Steven was like getting in a fight with some cops or soldiers or something.
Yeah. Drunk Steven had a fucking panic attack while he was banging a hooker.
Yeah,
Uh,
cause he started thinking about his dead mom again.
yeah, broke a lamp.
Freaks out,
Leopold
breaks
was
the
like,
lamp.
What the fuck is happening? They made Leopold pay for it.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Then he diffuses the situation with the police and helps Leopold and helps Steven
Steven.
get back home
There you go.
after finally growing a pair.
Andrew wins a gold star.
Yes.
Yeah, so this takes place like right after that. Like literally like right after that. Preparatory to anything else, Mr. Bloom brushed off the greater bulk of the shavings and handed Stephen the hat and ash plant and bucked him up generally in orthodox Samaritan fashion, which he very badly needed. So yeah, he's brushing off his hat. By the way, Josh, if you want to follow along with the actual book, click on my name in Discord and pull up my Twitch page, and you can see the feed there.
Pull up your name in Discord, click on the Twitch page. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have a watch button. Anyway. Yeah, so they are... This entire thing is like Steven, like, drunkenly walking down the street while Bloom rambles. But instead of Bloom rambling to Steven, it's the narrator rambling to us about what Bloom is saying. And this goes on for the first, like, 23 pages or so of the chapter.
Why are you frozen?
Why am I frozen? Did I lose tracking?
Oh, no.
There we go. The webcam's not really at a great angle.
Hotel Wi-Fi strikes again.
Is that you moving your head?
Yeah.
Or- Oh, that's cool.
Do you like my
no, that
hand
I've
No,
seen
that
it.
is his
You
head.
showed-
rigged
you showed it to
avatar?
me.
I made this myself. It's very nice.
You showed it to me.
Yeah.
And explained it to me. I didn't see the background before though. No.
Yeah, it says Ulysses. I don't know if you can read it. Let me move my giant head out of the way. No. Well, trust me, it says Ulysses.
I'll take your word for it. I see the U.
Right, so they're walking along Dublin at night. Apparently there's
Yeah.
like some bits where like you're supposed to
one of them
know that like based on the streets they're on and what they've walked by, like where they're standing in front of when they say different things. I was
Yes.
like, you
It's- the
expect
detail
way
is granular
too
in this
much
chapter.
from me.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a bit where like the narrator just spends like a bit describing like the stones, like these stones are only on this street. I'm like, that's great. I am not there.
Yeah,
I haven't left my house in like a year. I don't know what a street looks like anymore.
I was reading the annotations and they're like, see, the joke here is that the building that they're talking about is only like a block away from where they are. And it's like, yes, I am intimately familiar with the layout of the 1910s Dublin. Anyway, let's get into some of this actual text here. Yeah, so they're looking for a coffee house. I do like Butt Bridge. That's a good name for a bridge. I can't tell if it's just been so long since we read like normal prose that I've forgotten, or if this chapter is really weird. But some of these sentences, like, even more so than normal, feel bizarre to me. Like, let me run this one by you guys. For the nonce, he was rather nonplussed, but inasmuch as the duty plainly devolved upon him to take some measures on the subject, he pondered suitable ways and means, during which Stephen repeatedly yawned. What did that sentence mean?
I think it's intentionally overly verbose way of saying he's thinking about things, and Steven just being bored.
Yeah. What else we
Kind
got
of.
here? Here's a fun. I had to look this one up. Edid.
Ed, and Eddie.
That's shorthand for exhausted.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
Huh.
god, I gotta mute you.
Now,
go for it.
You
No,
may.
I gotta mute you on the
Oh,
Twitch thing.
yeah. Mute the stream. You just need to see the pages.
Where is it?
Bottom left for the
Bottom
mute button.
right.
Left.
Right? I don't know. I don't go on Twitch.
It's the bottom left.
I'll take your
You
word
don't
for
go
it.
on Twitch, you just stream to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't see that button.
Anyway, so
Gotta be a button
they.
for it. Oh, I found it.
Where are we? So Bloom tries to hail a cab. Like they're not seeing any cabs.
Poorly.
And then there's one like parked.
Oh, you don't have chat on your stream.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Why not? You should
Yeah.
have your chat scroll on your stream.
There is no one in the chat.
Yeah.
What? That doesn't matter. Like currently, I'm in the chat, and you should have your chat scroll in the screen. Scroll in the stream so you can comment on it.
I
You
don't.
understand how
I don't want
OBS
people
works?
in my chat. That's
You don't want people in your chat?
no. Get out.
What?
Okay, come on, let's go.
All right.
This is an easy one.
Yeah. Mr. Bloom, who was anything but a professional whistler, endeavored to hail it by emitting a kind of whistle, holding his arms arched over his head twice. This is hilarious to me because, how can you
Arched
be
over his head twice?
so? Okay, so what they?
Ah,
Like both arms arched over his head?
Okay, so it could be. Hang on, I gotta bust out the MS Paint. We're gonna need this later for the chapter, by the way. So I'm gonna get it ready
Really?
now. Yeah.
Anything but a professional whistler endeavored to hail it, emitting a kind of
Wait.
whistler, a whistle holding.
Uh,
Yeah, he emitted. So basically, you just omit holding his arms arched over his head, and
No,
then you just
don't
you
omit
emitted
that.
A kind of
Don't
whistle
omit.
twice.
Don't omit that. It's important.
No, but no. I'm saying that's how you would interpret it. That he means
What a
he
picture.
twice whistled. He did not twice arch over his head.
Oh.
So you're wrong.
I mean, it's funnier that way, but in
Uh-oh.
English,
Yes.
if you break it down, that's what
Uh-oh.
it means.
Please hold.
So you don't really need the
Production
paint.
value.
Just explain it.
In progress.
Wait, why are you using actual paint?
There we go.
No, I like that. Yeah, doing live oil painting.
Okay, so it could be that Bloom is like this with his arms arched over his head.
That's a dick.
That's what do you mean that's a dick? What part of that looks like a dick?
Oh, you
Well-
kept drawing.
So tell me,
What
Tell
the
me about
fuck
your
is
mother.
that?
Or
No,
it,
Alex, I literally just explained to you what it meant, though.
no. You're missing the point.
I see.
He could just be standing there like this, but I assume that what they actually mean is that he's. Hang on. Let me get a bigger eraser.
yes,
Somebody left
they,
that day.
the multifaceted entity known as James Joyce. Error from beyond time.
What I actually assume is going on is that he's just like, eh. That's an arm. Take my word for it.
Make a bigger eraser.
That's the biggest that you get. Anyway,
Look, it's not supposed to be good. It's supposed to make you feel
it's
something.
art's not supposed to be perfect. It's just supposed to make you feel something. Yes. thank
That's
you.
his dick, yeah.
That's his dick. Yeah. That's actually the ghost of his dead grandpa.
Ghost of his
Returning
dick.
once again to help him evaluate prostitutes.
Nice. I don't understand it, but
That's a hip reference to chapter 15. I can't. Oh wait. Okay. There we go. I couldn't escape from paint. Yeah. So they fail to hail a cab. So they're just walking.
Yes.
They're on the hunt for, what do they call it?
Coffee house.
Well, it is a coffee house, but they call it a cabman shelter, which is like a small, sketchy coffee house that's open all night long, mainly meant for, like, as the name would
Drunken
suggest,
people.
drunken
And the
people,
guys-
and also literally like the actual cab drivers who need to stop for coffee to stay up because it's 4 a.m. And these are very small places. They tend to be of ill repute.
Yeah, sort of standing
Basically, the
room
only
only
people
kinda
that go to
thing.
these are the people who are out at night at like 3 a.m. which is not like the normal crowd, right?
So they're basically walking around trying to find the nearest Waffle House.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or
This is
Denny's.
literally
I would go
Bloom,
Denny's, yeah.
and this is like you and your friend who drank way too much, and
Trying to find the
you're
Denny's.
trying to get him to a Denny's. Yeah.
How old is Denny's, and how old is this setting?
This is set in 1904, right?
And how old
Yes.
is Denny's?
Probably around there.
Okay.
Founded 1953.
Okay, I mean that's only like 50 years off, so they were walking to the Denny's, all right.
Yeah, they were going to Denny's.
Okay. Perfectly
Um,
reasonable.
yeah, so they give up on hailing a cab because there's no cabs around, and the one
Cars
they
existed then?
Yes.
Horse
I
drawn
was
cab.
literally
They
just gonna
did
guess that.
exist, but cab means horse-drawn carriage in this context.
Okay.
Hmm.
They existed, but they were not in widespread use. Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay.
Someone correct me if
Hold
I'm
on.
wrong. And by that I mean shut the fuck
motorized
up.
cabs were starting to become a thing, but usually in the sense
Yeah,
of like a
and
chauffeur service
And
for the wealthy.
so were
1886, yeah.
motorized lawnmowers, as we looked up that one time.
Benz
Yeah.
patent motor wagon was the first car.
There you go.
1886.
Also hilarious. So, the end of chapter 15, right, is you're like, wow, Bloom is maybe not actually just like a completely pathetic character with no redeeming qualities, right? You know, they're like,
Yeah.
he's actually kind of cool and he does something. And then this chapter starts off with Bloom failing to hail a cab because he sucks at whistling. And then Mr. Bloom being handicapped by
You
the
need to show off,
circumstance
Josh.
that one of the back buttons of his trousers had, to vary the time-honored adage, gone the way of all buttons. Though entering thoroughly into the spirit of the thing, he heroically made light of the mischance. So his pants are falling down because he lost a button.
Oops.
Yeah. So they keep walking. They go past some streets and stuff. I will spare you guys the geometry lesson.
Geography?
Huh?
No,
said
sacred
geometry.
geometry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because as
Do we have like a map of their journey?
Guys, the first car was powered by a 0.75 horsepower, one-cylinder, four-stroke gasoline engine. 0.75 horsepower. You may
Yeah,
as
it's
well
about
just have used a horse's power.
horses
That's
put
about
out
as much
more
horsepower
than
a horse has. Actually.
no, don't horses put out 3 horsepower?
No.
That doesn't make any sense. Then it should
Or
be
is it the other
3
way around?
horses.
A horse. Puts
1
out 0.7
horsepower
of
is
a
3
horsepower
horses.
Because it needs the 0.3 to.
Because
going.
it's
A
based
horse
on
puts out 3 horses if it got knocked up 3 times.
someone look this up because it's the horsepower is a measure of like the amount of work that a horse can do in like an
An hour.
8-hour period.
It's can't how much
No,
can it
literally,
move?
you start typing how much horse, the first Google search is, how much horsepower does a horse have? 15 horsepower!
Well, it depends on how you measure it.
So, we need like 20 freaking cars to equal 1 horse. This guy sucks. Fuck the first car.
That's,
Anyway, go on.
why do you think we made a second car? Anyway, to answer your question, Andrew, here's the map.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with this line here.
Is that like a trolley that's just going through
Yeah,
buildings?
yeah. At first I was like, oh, that's the route, right? But no, it like crashes through the building. Also, these black boxes make it look like this has been like redacted. Like there's Area 51 up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
All right, so they're going from Bella Cohen's, right, to the
They-
custom house. You said.
They're trying to get to no, not the customs house. They're trying to get to the cabman's shelter.
Cabin shelter. That's it.
Yeah.
But of course.
I don't actually remember where they start. I think they are at Bella Cohen's? Like I said,
so.
I'm gonna spare you guys the geometry.
Yeah, if
Um,
you draw this all out, like you might divine something you weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
We'll accidentally draw like a pentagram over Dublin.
Do it.
So I'm not gonna read all of Bloom's rambling, but I will read some of it because some of it's funny and you need to like get the feeling for it.
Mm-hmm.
En route to his taciturn and, not to put too fine a point on it, not yet perfectly sober companion, Mr. Bloom, who at all events was in complete possession of his faculties, never more so, in fact, disgustingly sober, spoke a word of caution, re the dangers of Nighttown, women of ill fame, and swell mobsmen. Swell mobsmen means well-dressed muggers. And pimps. It's pimps and also, it's pimps who are also muggers. Which,
Crime people.
yeah, crime people. Well, but the swell means well-dressed. Which, barely permissible once in a while, though not as a habitual practice, was of the nature of a regular death trap for young fellows of his age, particularly if they had acquired drinking habits under the influence of liquor, unless you knew a little jiu-jitsu, for every contingency, as even a fellow on the broad of his back could administer a nasty kick if you didn't look out. Like, I'm just imagining Steven, like...
Remember the basics of CQC.
I'm imagining Steven, like, trying to walk straight as Bloom is explaining the merits of jujitsu. Highly provident.
Steven can walk and chew gum.
Yes.
All right, good for him.
He's pretty smart.
Okay.
Maybe not while he's this drunk, but he's a clever lad. Highly providential was the appearance on the scene of Corny Kelleher when Steven was blissfully unconscious. Does anyone remember who Corny Kelleher was and what did
That
he
was
do?
the guy who showed up in the car and
No,
like
wait,
saved
no.
them by like pretending that Bloom and Steven were like related to him and that he was famous and powerful and had connections. So like, don't arrest them because then like, boy, my dad will come down on you and you lose your job, sort of
Is
deal.
that what happened? Dude,
Yes.
chapter
Yeah, you
15 was a
don't you know who
blur.
I am, guy?
Look, anything happened in chapter 15.
Everything happened in
creation-
chapter 15.
The whole of creation from beginning to end happened in chapter
I'm just
15.
disappointed that Bloom Musalem wasn't real.
I mean, it's real in our hearts.
It's real
We
in our
carried
hearts.
on in our hearts.
So they walk past a bread store.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this.
Might have been that.
Yeah. What started causing me pain is that when like paragraph breaks happen in the middle of sentences.
Yeah, that's fun.
The Guardians.
How am I supposed to read this?
So they walk past some, they have like previously walked past like a police station, and Bloom starts rambling about police. The reason he mentioned the fact was that a lot of those policemen whom he cordially disliked were admittedly unscrupulous in the service of the Crown. Crown here refers to the British Crown. Remember that they are in Ireland. And, as Mr. Bloom put it, recalling a case or two in the A Division in Clanbrassil Street, prepared to swear a hole through a 10-gallon pot. Never on the spot when wanted, but in quiet parts of the city, Pembroke Road, for example, guardians of the law were well in evidence, the obvious reason being they were paid to protect the upper classes.
Yes.
And then
Even more so at that time.
Yes.
Than like now saying that's like subtext. Like at the time, the police was before it became a professional occupation in the 20s. The police were basically another gang that the state ran, and that you hired them like you would mercenaries or like private security. The distinction between cops and like the Pinkertons or equivalents was like non-existent.
And not only that, the
worst people became cops.
The cops in Dublin were hired
Nasty.
by the government of England.
Yeah, they were an
Yes.
they were effectively an occupying military force.
So you can understand why there was rather quite a lot of animosity.
Yeah.
And now here's a fun one. What does this mean? I thought it was LSD, right? And I looked it up. And LSD was
number one.
LSD was discovered in like 1938, and I realized that that's not an L, that's a 1. Normally, something like this.
Ran away with a lot of 1 space S dot D dot.
Into the bargain.
Yeah.
The
Bargain.
the
Who wrote
annotation.
this shit? Is it James Joyce?
James Joyce.
Yes.
Oh, he should get
our
hit by a
friend.
bus. Is he alive?
He is
No.
dead.
He is quite dead.
He wrote
But He's
Ulysses.
laughing at us.
He wrote Ulysses.
Reanimate him and then hit him with a
Yeah.
bus.
So he
please.
wrote Ulysses, and then people tried to figure out Ulysses. So he's like, "I'll write something even worse." And then he wrote Finnegan's Wake, and then he died shortly after, if I recall.
He also wrote Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and that book is horrible.
You read it?
Yeah, it's literally like the worst thing ever. I had to. Well, I mean, I
Wow.
could have sparked that shit, but I read it though, like a trooper.
Huh.
And yeah, James Joyce can literally get hit by a bus, die, wake up, get hit by another bus, die again naturally of natural causes, wake up and get hit by a third bus, and yeah. Point is, he sucks.
He would be glad to know that his books continue to inspire hatred to this day.
I'm sure he would.
'Cause he
that's
wrote
literally-
purely-
What else? What else could he have written his books for?
He wrote like purely to spite English scholars.
Why are your eyelids behind your lashes?
It's based
Why is your lash in your eye?
What?
right.
Oh,
That's a
flipping.
good question. So it's actually an optical illusion.
No, it's not. I'm
Uh,
not actually seeing this.
you have to please understand that this is the official illustration for Leopold Bloom, which I worked off of when I made my avatar. And
Wait, what?
this
Who
is
made this?
that was
James Joyce.
drawn by
Doodled
James
it in his
Joyce.
notebook.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was. James Joyce was not an artist. He doodled this in his notes.
But like
Um,
half of his mustache is just so much longer than the other half.
Yeah, dude. It's
I get
art.
it. He's supposed to be looking at an angle, but he gives no perception.
No,
that he
it's
is
just
actually
like
looking at
that.
an angle.
Do you understand? Do you understand now why my avatar is so scuffed?
Okay.
And look,
so
look,
like as compared
he's
to
got
what it's supposed
the
to look
one
like?
the one eyebrow inside the eye that goes down,
no.
and the other inside the eyebrow that goes up. I've got that. I look
No,
just
honestly,
like it.
As compared to the picture, you got it pretty good.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. I worked pretty damn
Like,
hard on
honestly, James Joyce's picture might be worse than yours.
this. Now, so what's like when I first looked at this, I was like, oh,
'Cause his isn't animated.
those must be glasses, right? Because otherwise, how could the eyebrows be in there? But like glasses usually.
Where's the bar?
Where's the?
Yeah.
Right.
Where's
There's a rib.
what do you call the sides? The arms?
Arms? The
Is
arms.
that what they're called?
The wings?
That's what I call them.
The wings! No, they're not the wings. The frame, that's what it's called. Yeah, literally
legs.
just where's the frame?
Yeah, exactly.
And also,
Where's
Bloom
the
doesn't wear
beef?
glasses.
That's true. He doesn't
So
wear
what
glasses.
are the lines though? Are they supposed to be eyelids? Are they supposed to... that's what I think is they're actually eyelids.
It's
what-
it's
what-
supposed to be enigmatic. It's supposed to make you think.
No,
Yes.
it's horrible.
It makes
His
me
mustache
think.
is the Nike symbol if the Nike symbol guy didn't know how to draw lines.
Yeah.
This is good podcasting. We're at the point where like we get the guy on who hates the thing. Like,
Yeah.
say
Oh,
we're-
dude,
say
I would be the best podcaster. I've already had intentions of doing one eventually.
So like.
I
now
wanna
we
be
can
on
say
your
we're fair and
podcast.
Balanced.
Okay, I'll invite you on.
Yeah.
Alex, let's make a podcast.
Okay. It's gonna be called
All
Book
right.
Club, and we'll talk about Ulysses.
No,
Forever.
that sounds bad.
Anyway,
Alright, so did we figure out what LSD means?
no,
here?
no, no. This is
I did.
one.
One
This is
S.D.
one SD.
I figured it out.
What is it?
Okay.
One S.D. is also expressed as like the pound symbol SD, pound,
Oh!
shilling, pence.
Oh, this is fucking British money.
Oh,
Yes.
we're not getting into British money again. I'm just.
But what is
I'm
the D?
scrolling to the next page.
Pence.
Hence,
Why isn't
Yeah.
it P?
great
Because
question.
that's
Ask the British.
because P can't because the one has to be the pound symbol, and you can't make the pound the P because people might get confused as opposed to pound, shillings, and pence, which is a very weird, which is bizarre.
So a 1 is the number of pounds.
Yeah, with
Right.
a lot of pound, shillings, and pence into the bargain, and the greatest danger of all is who you got. Bloom is mumbling about if you drink with the wrong people, they'll end up spending your money.
It was funnier when I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, because it's not a joke. Boom is giving practical advice about not drinking with the wrong crowd and it's right because Steven's friends abandoned him the moment he had his panic attack in the middle of the horror.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
Squandermania.
Yeah, Squandermania, dude.
Unscrupulous.
Demimonde. Demimonde.
Dude, the people at work, like, we made one of the guys there made a group called LESGARCONS, and I was invited to it. And I'm like, what is Les Garkins? And then everybody started laughing at me because it's Les Garcons, which means the boys, and I didn't realize that. And yeah, I got made
Voice chat.
Les Garkins. I said.
The Gungans.
Other languages are hard.
Yeah, they are. There's a lot of those in this chapter too.
Oh, I thought you meant in the world. I'm like, yes.
Not for long.
Not with Trump. Can we have Trump again though? This one's not as funny.
Biden doesn't have a
Many are
pillow
saying
guy.
that.
You can't be a president without a pillow guy.
How does he rest his head at night?
I don't know. I've been getting ads for some terrifying startup called the Cube, where it's the pillow's in the shape of a cube.
Wait,
Maybe
what?
that can be his pillow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on, I gotta look this up.
My
Like-
pillow guy's basically Trump's bestie.
Like the YouTube
The
pre-roll
pillow-
ads
the
like,
Pillow Cube
why did we
Pro
make our pillow a
6?
cube? And then I immediately skip because
This
I don't
isn't
care.
a cube.
Not a cube.
This is a rectangle.
You're a rectangle.
I mean, it's definitely not a DVD copy of the movie The Cube.
Yeah, which is what came up when I googled cube. What the fuck? Hey, picture. Come on.
It's a good movie.
I
An
can't.
adjacent movie. Let's hedge.
I
Don't
oh,
be
because
confusing it
it's
with
not.
sequels.
Hold on. All right, fuck it. Just Google pillow cube.
No.
Custom houses and loop lines with the braziers of coke.
They sure are.
Yeah, but not the fun kind of coke. The coke in an industrial.
Yeah, the
sense.
coal coke.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
even more
yeah.
boring.
So so they've just got some burning coals in front of like the policeman's house, little box.
Oh, it worked.
They're still
Yeah,
just
so
walking.
this part's
Just
really
walking.
funny. So Steven stops walking all of a sudden so that he can stare at the figure inside the sentry box. And then recognizes the guy as a friend of his father. So he like crosses to the other side of the road. And then just because he doesn't want to have to interact with this guy.
I can relate.
And then, in doing so, he is spotted by another person who is walking down the road. Who calls out to
That is
him.
awful.
He waves and calls out to him. This is so much funnier, right? Because at first, he would have just walked by one of his dad's friends who would maybe just, like, give him a wave, right? But instead, he is bumped into, like, an old acquaintance who begins to give him a sob story and then beg for money.
Yes.
So I'm gonna bring the MS Paint back out because we need to do some very important genealogy.
Oh boy.
You guys are gonna love this.
Can't wait.
Time for some game theory.
Hang on. This is gonna break.
It's like that. What's that god awful scene from the British Sherlock where he's like wiggling his hands in front of his face and like X flies on the screen that says John Philip Sousa? It's great.
Okay, so we are introducing a new character here. His name is Lord John Corley.
Donald John President.
So we're gonna be tracing this up here. Corley. His father. Yeah, his father.
Doing great, sweetie.
His father is Inspector Corley.
Inspector Jacques Clouseau.
And his mother is Catherine Brophy.
Mm-hmm.
And Brophy is the daughter of a farmer.
Neat.
It just refers to as Loth Farmer, but that's not important. What is important is that the Loth Farmer's grandfather...
What's Loth?
I don't
What's up?
know.
It's a little cute.
Please, someone Google that. I would love to know.
I assume it's like a region.
Uh,
It's a
Town in
it's-
England.
okay, there
Yeah,
you go.
it's in Leicester and Ireland. Okay.
His grandfather is Michael Corley. So his father's grandfather.
This is an incredible inversion of those parts of the Bible where they're just begatting.
Or maybe
We're
it's
going in
not.
reverse
Maybe
now.
maybe the Loth Farmer is Michael Corley. Brandon, help me out here. Who had
Who's
married a
what?
certain Catherine Brophy, the daughter of a Louth farmer. His grandfather, Patrick Michael Corley of New Ross. So is the Loth farmer Patrick Michael Corley?
No.
Probably.
The
No?
grandfather, the Loth farmer. is
Okay,
Patrick
that's
Corley.
so the great great grandfather of Corley.
Yeah. Who
Okay.
of New Ross, not to be confused with Old Ross.
Right.
It's British, so it's a British name. So
Um,
it could be pronounced Roche, for who all knows.
Rush.
And Corley married the
Mhm.
widow
Yes.
of
Whose maiden name was Catherine Talbot.
yeah.
Who I'll just keep reading for you while you do the MS Paint
Wait, hold
stuff.
on. So the widow.
Yes. Whose maiden name was Catherine Talbot.
Wait. How men don't have maiden
Widow?
names?
Widow of a publican, whatever, whose maiden name had been Catherine Talbot. So married, husband dies, goes back to her maiden name. And then
Wait.
rumor has it that
So the late
grandfather,
the late
married
husband.
the widow.
Yeah.
The grandfather, Patrick Michael Corley, married Catherine Talbot. And the
Oh, we don't
reason
know
for
who the
this is-
publican there is.
No, just a person, just a person.
Man.
Local man.
So the widow
Yes,
is descended from
allegedly.
allegedly
An aristocratic house.
so not quite. So the widow's mother or aunt or some relative.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some tenuous connection up here.
Mm-hmm.
Was the laundry maid
Yeah.
the laundry maid of House Talbot demaldehyde.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Malahide. So as you can see, there's a very strong lineage behind John Corley,
Yeah.
making him rightful nobility, probably third in line to the throne of England, by my
Condor.
count.
Possibly.
So the joke here is that,
Oh, there's a joke.
well, yeah, the joke is that one of the steps of the family tree is that his great aunt-in-law was a laundry maid at a castle.
Yeah.
Like,
It's making fun of the sort of people who do genealogy. Like, I'm actually the Prince of Scotland. And I'm like, this is the third grade. You are a child.
yeah, and so what's really funny about this is that even the annotations talk about how like long-winded and tenuous this whole bit is,
Mhm.
Pieces, yeah.
which comes back. Like
Yes, it does.
they talk about it again. Yeah. So there's a brief diversion. So Corley pulls Stephen aside. Taking Stephen on one side, he had the customary doleful ditty to tell, not as much as a farthing to purchase a night's lodgings. His friends had all deserted him. Furthermore, he had a row with Lenahan and called him to Stephen a mean bloody swab, with a sprinkling of a number of other uncalled-for expressions. He was out of a job and implored of Stephen to tell him where on God's earth he could get anything at all. And then Bloom's like, No, it was the daughter of the mother in the wash kitchen that was foster sister to the heir of the house. Or else they were connected through the mother in some way, both occurrences happening at the same time if the whole thing wasn't a complete fabrication from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So, Corley is like, please, Steven, you gotta find me a job. Anything, I'll do anything. And Steven's like, well, if you go to the boys' school at Dalkey, there's a job for a gentleman usher. Tell him I sent you. So, the gentleman usher is like the assistant to the principal of the school. Not an actual instructor. But Corley's like, God, I couldn't teach in a school. I was never one of your bright ones. The joke, I guess, being that he's so dumb that he doesn't even know that this is not a teaching position.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the annotations are like these are also callbacks to Portrait.
No one read that.
Look, man.
No one should read that.
Everyone should read it. Mostly because I think we need to bring back the sort of energy where like English class is used to torture children, instead of now where like English class should be an enjoyable learning experience. No, everyone should have to suffer like I did.
Yes. That is a way to instill
Radiate.
upon the youth a long-lasting... Oh, hey, Nick
possible.
is here.
He's
Yeah.
been here. He's just doing the
Huh?
Nick thing of being quiet.
I didn't notice. So
Ice cream.
one of the things that you'll see throughout this chapter is that they make more references than normal to Italian and Latin, which I
There's a
believe
bunch of mooks.
is that it's because this is an allegory for Dante's Inferno, in that Bloom is Virgil and Stephen is Dante.
Damn.
That's my
Yeah,
theory.
you could read it like that.
So I mean, we got this right here. This is the quote from
What? How?
wait, this is a quote from the
Ignorus Valorum?
Aeneid.
Yeah, it is. Which I mean, both interpretations are valid, because
I
This-
thought
this-
I thought that was Virgil as in Dante's Inferno.
Virgil, as in the guy who wrote the Aeneid. Who
I didn't
Dante
read the
sings
Aeneid.
for.
Anyway,
Howard.
I did read Dante's though. I read the Inferno,
Pretty
whole damn thing.
good.
Not in the original.
I mean,
but-
yeah, I mean, I read it in the sense that I played Bayonetta. That's basically the same thing.
It's
Pretty much.
I don't.
I'm not a...
I actually had a good time reading it. It's kind of fun. Anyway, yeah. So this quote here, which I'm going to mangle brutally. Brace yourselves. Haud ignaris malorum miseris succurere disco.
Whoa! Suck your own area, bro. Settle down.
Alex, why is there a
Valorum? Is that
glowing
Chancellor
circle on the
Valorum?
floor of my room now?
Huh? Oh,
Only you
sorry.
can answer that.
Yeah, only you can answer that. So that line. Okay, so the joke here is that the original line from the Aeneid is non ignara mali miseris succurre disco, which means not ignorant of misfortune. And this new line here means not at all ignorant of misfortune.
One of those high IQ memes.
Yeah.
To be fair, you need a high IQ to understand the subtle humor of
Ulysses.
Ulysses.
So what they're saying here? So Corley is given this brand new rigmarole, the brand new rigmarole about how he's out of money, and Stephen is like, I am not ignorant of misfortune, because he just got paid like the day before, or
Yeah,
that
even though
morning.
he's still massively in debt from shoes.
Yeah, it's pretty funny how little money he manages to have somehow, despite getting pretty good salary. So he reaches into his pocket to try and find like some coins. Specifically, he put his hand in a pocket anyhow, not with the idea of finding any food there, but thinking he might lend him anything up to a bob or so. Bob being slang for one of the many denominations of currency. And instead, he just pulls out some broken biscuits. And he is attempting to remember why there are biscuits in his pocket. Does anyone remember where those came from? Was that
Were those the
from...
ones? The drugstore?
Well, because I remember that there was the time that someone threw, like, the biscuit tin at Bloom.
Right, yeah.
Are those the same biscuits?
That is peak Bloom to be like, the guy gets chucks a tin full of biscuits at him, he just pockets the biscuits and be like, hey, free biscuits.
No, Steven's the one with the coins in his pocket. I mean, the biscuits in his pocket.
Right. If it was Bloom, he'd be pulling out the soap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he does still have soap in his pocket. He's had soap the entire time.
Forgot to leave at home.
Yeah, and he never went back to the chemist to pick up his, what was the other thing that he was getting
He
there?
needs it for his Hemon
like-
bubble.
Perfume or something. I forget.
Yeah, the perfume for the wife, and also to pay for the soap.
Yeah.
So he has committed grand larceny.
He will be shot on the spot, yes.
Yeah.
So Steven does eventually find what he thought were pennies. And is like, here you go. And Corley's like, those are half crowns, man. And Steven's like, it sure is. And gives him one.
A crown is a fairly substantial amount of money, correct?
Yes.
Maybe.
A
5
crown.
shillings.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No one knows. Remember, this is pre-decimation, and the banks were just printing their own different denominations at whatever they felt like. So, yeah, it's very complicated. We did a whole episode where we tried to figure out British currency and then gave up, and just like now we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Corley is like, you should tell Boylan to get me a job as a sandwich man. The guys, if you remember at what was the store called?
It was a stationery store.
Yeah, they had a bunch of guys wearing signs that spelled out the name. Because this is Boylan. Boylan is like Bloom's arch enemy, right? Because
30
Boylan is
bits.
cool.
30 pennies.
Boylan is a successful advertiser who like stole some of Bloom's clients, and most importantly, Boylan is literally fucking Bloom's wife, probably right now as we speak.
They've all been dead for over 100 years.
I think it was called like Haley's. Was that what it was
Yeah.
called?
All right, so
Haley's, something like that.
regarding the half crown, that's that's like 5 days lodging at one of the like really shitty just rooms with beds in them
Okay,
sort
Motel
of
6.
places.
A hostel?
Not bad. Not bad.
A DOS house.
Motel 6.
House house. Okay. Or is it a house that's run entirely on MS DOS?
Yeah.
That'd be impressive
exactly.
in
Yeah, that'd be
1904.
impressive. in
Cutting edge at the
1904.
time.
I was gonna say, DOS 1.0 probably just came out.
Anyway, so Bloom had suggested that they do
Yeah,
this
the switch over-
advertising
the fight between
campaign.
CPM and DOS is what caused World War One.
Bloom suggested this advertising campaign where they get like this cart with like a window, and they put a woman in the cart, like in the box, and they have her like write on the stationery, and people will be like, "Wow, there's a woman in a box. She's writing on some stationery. I want to buy that stationery." And he pitched this, and they were like, "No." And then Boylan was like, "What if you wrote the name of the store on some wood, and you had people walk around town holding it?" And they're like, "That's great, Boylan. Here's $1 million and permission to fuck Bloom's wife."
I think I said this in one of the previous ones, but like with that idea, Bloom like basically invented like the sort of surreal influencer-based marketing that we see nowadays. Like every ad is an incomprehensible nightmare, and you're like, what are they even trying to sell me?
Yeah, because that's the problem, right? So
Not as terrifying as the guacamole ad, where the guacamole takes his skin off and like winks at me.
I'm glad I
like
have
that?
ad blocks.
Terrifying.
Cause
That does
so
sound
you
pretty
put you
scary.
put a woman in a box, right? And you have her write on some paper.
Society.
When when people look at the woman in the box, they're not gonna be like, I wonder what paper she's writing on. They're gonna be like, huh, woman in a box. Would you look at that?
It's
And
my
then they'll-
dick in the box.
they'll keep
baby.
going. Anyway, yeah. So Corley's like, can you get me a job as a sandwich board man? I'll do anything, even a crossing sweeper. The crossing sweeper is literally the pooper scooper, right? Because when the horses stop at the crossing, they take a shit, and then you need the crossing sweeper to sweep the shit out of the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because he's like, I'll do anything. I'll even sweep shit off the street. But Steven was like, you want to go be an assistant to the principal of the boys' school? And he's like, nah.
He's
No,
like,
I
no,
can't
I'm too
teach.
stupid to realize that that's a
I'm
good
too
job.
stupid. Yeah, exactly. And then he tells some story about Bags Comiskey, who got arrested for drunk and disorderly. 210.
I was gonna say, someone with the name Bag sounds like a criminal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's me. It's Bax Kaminsky on King of South London.
So while this whole thing is going on,
Simple as.
Bloom is just hanging out over by the warm glow of the coals and the
Yeah.
Watchman sentry box, who he notices has fallen asleep.
Yep.
And
asleep.
he's eyeing
Those
Steven.
nudes.
He's eyeing Steven, who's like on the other side of the street talking to this guy who Bloom doesn't know. And he's just silently judging him.
Yeah.
He notices, based on his dilapidated hat and slouchy apparel, testifying to a chronic impecuniosity. Anyone want to guess what
Excuse me?
Anyone want to guess what that word means? Brandon, if you already
Presumably.
looked it up, don't answer.
The fuck did you just say to me?
Impecuniosity?
Yeah.
I mean, I can probably piece it out if you gave me 5 minutes, but
So,
I took phonics. You know,
fuck it, I give up.
It's the state of
Oh.
being poor.
Right, okay.
It
Who doesn't know
testifies to chronic broke-ass bitch syndrome.
I would
Fuck
simply
doesn't know that.
stop being poor.
I would simply get a job as a sandwich board man.
Simply be born wealthy.
Some people, it works for them. You know? Sometimes you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you get a small loan of $1 million, and you move on with time. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Everyone else has to pick themselves up by the sandwich board.
By the sandwich board.
By the sandwich
Odious.
bootstraps.
Yeah.
You can do that with a stale baguette.
And then Bloom
Those things are load
goes
bearing.
on some weird rambling about how it looks like this guy looks like the kind of guy that would be given penal servitude at the dock. Huh, penal.
Get it?
Having to do with the kidney.
Ah, penis.
Kidney?
Penis.
Not much
Penal.
with getting with
Penal
you.
means kidney.
Does it? I thought
Penis.
penal just meant penal.
Or am I thinking...
You're thinking of renal. You're thinking of renal. Renal is kidney. What do you? You got
Renal,
Bloom
penal,
syndrome, and that you just think about kidneys a lot.
It's in your
Um,
head.
Schlongs
A real,
all the
real
time.
Bloom moment right there.
Yeah. So Steven goes back over to Bloom, and is like, he asked me to ask you to ask Boylan to give him a job as a sandwich man, which causes Bloom to dissociate momentarily.
Just as he mentions his arch enemy.
Yeah. At this intelligence, in which he seemingly evinced little interest, Mr. Bloom gazed abstractly for the space of half a second or so in the direction of a bucket dredger, rejoicing in the far-famed name of Eblana, moored alongside Custom House Quay, and quite possibly out of repair.
Right.
Yeah. Whereupon he observed evasively, "Everybody gets their own ration of luck, they say. Now you mention it, his face was familiar to me. But leaving that for the moment, how much did you part with?" he queried, "if I am not too inquisitive." "Half a crown," Stephen responded. "Needs!" Mr. Bloom ejaculated.
Get it?
Yeah.
I,
I hit you with the old bait and switch in the preview. See, in that you thought he was actually nutting, like that one guy in chapter 15, who just sprayed fat ropes all over the ground.
well, I mean, that might have been in Bloom's head. I'm not sure.
No, it wasn't. They actually hung a man in the street, and he busted a nut so fat that it sprayed through his pants onto the ground. That happened. I looked it up.
And we covered it.
Yeah. Everyone according to his needs, or everyone according to his deeds. But talking about things in general. So Bloom gets like real judgmental here. Which, to be fair, Steven is out drunk at 1 in the morning, which means he's allowed to be judged.
This is true.
Where will you sleep
Very few-
yourself?
Many are saying this.
Walking to Sandy Cove is out of the question, and even supposing you did, you won't get in after what occurred at Westland Row Station. Simply fag out there for nothing. So in
Fag
contest,
out?
they used fag. They used like faggy earlier to mean drunk, and then in this context, fag means like to tire yourself out.
So neither means what it
No.
sounds like.
No,
And this,
it wasn't
no,
a slur back then. They didn't use it to refer to gay people. That
They had
came
other
later.
slurs.
They had other slurs. I don't mean to presume to dictate to you in the slightest degree, but why did you leave your father's house? To seek misfortune, was Stephen's answer. This is one of the first things that Stevens actually, said to Bloom as they're going along. Which is, I just love this line. Rather powerful line. To seek misfortune.
yeah.
The actual
Why'd you get
reason
up
is
there?
because,
But that's like the equivalent of that tweet, today I woke up and chose violence.
yeah. I met your respected father on recent occasion, Mr. Bloom diplomatically returned. Today, in fact, or to be strictly accurate, on yesterday. Where does he live at present? I gathered in the course of conversation that he had moved. I believe he's in Dublin somewhere, Stephen asked. Why? A gifted man, Mr. Bloom said of Mr. Daedalus Sr., in more respects than one, and a born raconteur, if ever there was one. He takes great pride, quite legitimate, out of you. You could go back, perhaps, he hazarded, still thinking of the very unpleasant scene at Westland Row terminus, when it was perfectly evident that the other two, Mulligan that is, and that English tourist friend of his, who eventually euchred their third companion, were patently trying as if the whole Bally station belonged to them to give Stephen the slip in the confusion, which they did. So he's talking about when Stephen had a fucking meltdown at the whorehouse, and his friends all ditched him, which, to be fair, he was causing a scene. He was embarrassing them in front of the whores, and they did not want to be
Bro,
associated with you.
making the
Bro, the whores are gonna think we're cringe, bro.
Raconteur, for those who don't know French, is
It's a band, isn't it?
possibly,
It
but
wouldn't
in this
surprise me.
context, it's someone who's good at telling stories. Literally means someone who recounts.
Uh-huh.
Recounter.
Yeah. And then Steven has, flashbacks to his shitty life at home where they were, starving and hungry.
Mhm.
And the cat had to eat eggshells and fish heads.
Yep.
No, Mr. Bloom repeated again. I wouldn't personally repose much trust in that boon companion of yours who contributes the humorous element, Dr. Mulligan, as a guide, philosopher, and friend if I were in your shoes. So, I like this part because normally Bloom is the failure, right? But here he is, talking about how Steven's, father is cooler than Steven. And Steven's friend Mulligan is cooler and more successful than Steven. And that's going to come up again throughout the chapter. Or at least, certainly at least one more time. Maybe after that. I haven't read that far.
Yeah.
Um,
And then Bloom asserts that maybe his friends drugged his drink just to do an epic sick bro prank.
just for funsies.
Yeah.
It wouldn't occasion me the least surprise to learn that a pinch of tobacco or some narcotic was put in your drink for some ulterior object. He understood.
Who puts tobacco?
That's
in
what I
someone's
was
drink
thinking,
as a date rape
would you-
drug?
wouldn't you notice if someone just stuck like a pinch of tobacco in your tea? Because
And what
like,
would that do?
Oh god, that's nasty.
Yeah. You'd
I
be
was
like,
gonna
oh,
say,
that's
yeah.
gross.
I mean, it depends if it's like, because if it's like dip or snooze, it would be disgusting.
and also like a pinch of tobacco is not gonna
Nah.
get you totally fucked up. It will ruin the drink though. So maybe the joke is that because they put it next to narcotic, but it's
It's not a narcotic.
it's
I
mean, it's like
the thing is,
stimulant.
this is
Hey
the
Yeah.
guys,
past.
Dr. Mulligan here with another sick prank.
Like, this is the past where like heroin was legal, so who knows?
Yeah. Maybe
Um,
it's tobacco coated with heroin.
there you go. Yeah, so and then
time.
he talks about how Mulligan is like on track to be an esteemed doctor, and this one time he saved a guy who was drowning using artificial respiration. Yeah. And Steven's just like, And then, yeah, no, he
yeah, 'cause
literally,
he's
So-
been badly bamboozled.
So
He's
the
been tricked.
annotations that I have suggest that that line could be related to Bloom's view of tobacco.
oh, and that he views it, that's right, because Bloom is like a super ultra teetotaler who refrains from all forms of fun.
Right.
Wouldn't want those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I can relate.
The drug seems to lodge in his imagination as a dangerous pleasure as treacherously seductive as sex.
Neither of which Bloom does.
Rip.
Even though he did literally go to a whorehouse. But
Yeah.
we are not sure what happened there, in that literally no one knows. It's the book
Yeah.
doesn't say.
It was lost.
I
in
mean,
the,
okay, a lot of
abstract
things
Bloom's thoughts.
happened at the whorehouse, like
Yeah.
him being visited by
Becoming
the
God
ghost
King,
of his dead grandpa,
going to
And getting gender
going to
bent.
Bloomuculum,
Bluemouth.
giving
Zalom,
birth.
yeah. He does
getting
get fisted.
fisted.
He gets a vulva. The vulva gets fisted, and then the vulva goes away. Yes. And then they come to. They approach the men's urinal, next to
Yes.
which a mob of Italians are arguing around an ice cream car at 1 in the morning,
Italians.
which is
New
just
York, baby.
it's
Hey,
so
let's go
funny to
Mets,
me.
Love the Mets.
because there's like so you've got this rather.
There's Tony. and
There's this rather
Mike.
serious segment going on, like especially by like Ulysses standards, where Bloom is like, Steven, you're a failure. You're out at 1 in the morning with nowhere to sleep. Your friends left you. You won't go back to your dad's. Your dad is cooler than you, by the way, and so is your friend. And then here's the Italians arguing about ice cream next to the men's urinal.
Yep.
I'm
Well,
not
keep in
gonna.
mind,
I'm
men's
not.
urinals were outside back in the day.
Yeah, it's just like the
It's-
trough.
It's the piss trough at the baseball stadium.
Don't wash your hands in it.
There's always one person who does it. Bless their heart.
All right, who wants to take a crack at this Italian?
Despite being of Italian heritage, I don't think that's a good idea.
Same.
Brandon?
Don't look at me, man. If I do it, I will just do Italian jokes. In that, I'll just play the Spider-Man 2 pizza music.
All right, well,
I thought you
I'll
meant the-
I'll read the translation here, because there's some fun profanity in this one. Putana Madonna
Yeah,
means-
I can figure it
Hakuna
out.
Matata.
what a wonderful phrase! It means whore of the Blessed Virgin.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Alas.
Yeah,
of
so that's-
course.
If you know any Spanish profanity, puta means
don't.
whore.
Oh yeah.
Putana, I assume, is related. Yeah, Putana Madonna is a fun rhyme.
I'm sorry. Putana Madonna? Come on, dude.
Putana Madonna.
Make
We're
up
probably
better words.
we're probably upsetting a lot of Italians right now.
Make a
Yeah.
better word. They're fucking mooks anyway.
He must give us the money, aren't I right? Busted asshole. Let's
Give
get
us the money, motherfucker.
Kurarata.
let's get this clear. Half a sovereign more. So that's what he
It's a
says.
Savanapu.
However- Half. Blackguard. His filthy dead ancestors. But listen, 5 more per person. Yeah, so they're arguing about money. They're shaking down the fucking ice cream man. The mob is out here.
The bourgeois.
And then finally they arrive at the cabman shelter. An unpretentious wooden shelter, where prior to then he had rarely, if ever, been before, the former having previously whispered to the latter. Oh yeah, one of the things that I meant to point out earlier, there are a lot of run-on sentences in this chapter. Like, I know that Joyce just uses a lot of run-on sentences, and there have been, like, sentences that go for, like, 2 pages, but, like, in terms of the ratio of sentences to run-on sentences, this is pretty run-on-y. Mr. Bloom and Stephen enter the cabman shelter, an unpretentious wooden structure where prior to then he had rarely, if ever, been before, the former having previously whispered to the latter a few hints, and then to the keeper of it, said to be the once famous Skin the Goat Fitzharris, the Invincible, though he could not vouch for the actual facts, which quite possibly there was not one vestige of truth in. So Skin the Goat Fitzharris was a murderer, an accessory to murder, who was sentenced to life in prison and then was released in 1902. There is no evidence whatsoever that he was the keeper of the cabman shelter or of any cabman shelter at all. But some people have suggested that the Dublin Corporation hired him as a night watchman after they let him out of prison. I don't know how relevant that is, but it's in the annotations.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you hire a guy who's killed people, because then to protect you, because then he knows what a murderer looks like.
That's true. Well, to be clear, he didn't kill anyone. He was an accessory to murder.
Okay, well, we can't all be somebody's handbag.
I was just gonna say a fashion accessory.
Ha.
Shut the fuck up, Alex.
Here's some more
I
Italian.
don't understand humor.
Oh yeah, so Bloom is like, you should get some coffee. And then you ought to sample something in the shape of solid food, say a roll of some description.
Get some carbs into you, buddy.
Yeah. And then a drunken sailor shows up.
Oh no.
And hang on, where was the Voglio? There's a word I'm looking for. Oh yeah, okay. Here we go. Yeah. So they hear they hear the battle royal in the street. So the Italians are just fucking going to town on this poor ice cream man or whatever.
Okay.
That's what you get. You ripped off little Mike over here. Some big Mike's gonna come.
He asked for 3 scoops. 3 scoops, and you gave him 2.5 scoops. I'm gonna break your
many
fucking kneecaps.
You won.
Anyway, so as they're fighting, and Bloom is like, beautiful language. I mean, for singing purposes. So keep in mind, they're literally like calling each other like sons of bitches
Yeah, they're just
and
swearing
broken
at each other
assholes.
left and right.
And Bloom's like, a beautiful language. Bella Poetria. Which is funny because what he's trying to say is Bella Poesia. Poesia is Latin for poetry, but instead he says Poetria. Belladonna. Voglio. He just says some fun Italian words.
Pizza pasta.
Pizza. Pasta.
Enchilada.
Try again.
Pasta fazool.
There you go.
Yay.
The gabagool.
And Steven's like, yeah,
Dinga dinga dargan.
they were haggling
That's
over money.
Swedish.
Because Steven knows Italian. Steven knows like Italian and French and Latin and he knows like every fucking language. It's kind of crazy. And then
He's like
they
they're haggling over money.
yeah, they're haggling
Oh,
over the
really?
money. What else do you yell at an ice cream man over? Like, the ice cream man turns money into ice cream, so either you're haggling over money or you're haggling over ice cream.
That's how it really.
And then they talk about names. Oh, before that, they use one of my all-time favorite words. This is the best word ever. If I had to pick a favorite word, it's this one. The keeper of the shelter in the middle of this tete-a-tete. That's not my favorite word. I don't know what that even means.
Who cares?
Annotations don't have anything on it. Put a
It's a
boiling
private
swimming cup
conversation
of a
between
choice
two people.
concoction labeled coffee on the table, and a rather antediluvian specimen of a bun, or so it seemed. Antediluvian is an interesting way to describe a bun. Does anyone know what that
Yeah.
means?
Yes.
I've heard it before, but I have no idea.
All right, so ante obviously means before. Diluvian means flood. Specifically, antediluvian refers to everything before the flood in Noah's Ark that reset the world.
Yes.
So this is
Old.
an
Like
old
Tower of
bun.
Babel.
Stale roll.
Yes, the world's stalest bun.
A bun as old as the Tower of Babel.
Yeah. So then they talk about names. For some weird reason. 'Cause Steven's like, sounds aren't real, names aren't real.
Damn, that's.
Did
deep.
you know that Shakespeare's were as common as Murphy's? What's in a name? The annotations say that Shakespeare was not as common in quantity as Murphy's. But it was a name that was held by commoners.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Maybe some of those Murphy should have written some of the greatest plays in the English language.
Maybe they should have.
Step up.
Pull yourself up by your sandwich boards. And then a red-bearded sailor. Oh yeah.
Wow.
So when they first walked in, because like they are very clearly not the kind of people that would hang out at a 3 a.m. or a 1 a.m. Coffee shop, shitty coffee shop at that has the worst coffee and the worst rolls. Everyone, like, the jazz music stops. Let me find this here. Who wants some coffee? Yeah, where prior to then, he had rarely, if ever, been before, the former having previously whispered to the latter a few hints. Anent the keeper of it, blah, blah, blah. A few moments later, saw our 2 noctambules, that means people who walk around at night, safely seated in a discreet corner, only to be greeted by stares from the decidedly miscellaneous collection of waifs and strays and other nondescript specimens of the genus Homo, already there engaged in eating and drinking. So everyone's staring at them, because they're like... they're very clearly out of place. And this sailor walks up, and is like, what's your name? And Bloom, like, kicks Steven to be like, don't
start.
And Steven's like, Daedalus. And the sailor's like, do you know Simon Daedalus? This is funny, because Simon Daedalus is his dad. And Steven's like, I've heard of him. And then the sailor starts going on this story about how he can shoot 2 eggs off of 2 bottles at 50 yards over his shoulder, the left hand dead shot. Which probably isn't true.
Ooh. No, it's not.
And he gives this dramatic story about shooting the eggs off the bottles. Palm! He shouts once. The entire audience waited, anticipating an additional detonation, there being still a further egg. Palm! He shouted twice. Egg 2 evidently demolished. He nodded and winked. Very funny. And then, basically the sailor goes off
Buffalo
on this...
Bill shoots to kill.
Yeah.
Never misses. Nor ever. Wait, you moved the.
Sorry, I scrolled back as soon as I heard you start talking.
Nor he never will.
Exactly. And Steven is like, that is a load of bullshit, but doesn't say anything. And Bloom is like, long ago. And the sailor's like, what? Was it for a marksmanship competition? Like the Bisley? Sailor's like, huh? 'Cause he's just full of shit, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes off on some other stories about his beautiful wife, and
his beautiful house.
he's gone all over the world, and he went to the Chinese Sea, and they got chased by pirates,
Yar har fiddle dee.
and then he's like, "Has anyone got some chaw?" And some dude gives him some chaw. It's just chawing tobacco, which he chaws. So he's just chewing tobacco and talking about
Whoa.
being a sailor while drunk at a coffee house in 1 a.m, which is like peak sailor life.
Yeah.
I was in the Red Sea. I was in China and North America and South America. We was chased by pirates one voyage. I seen icebergs plenty. I was in Stockholm in the Black Sea, the Dardanelles under Captain Dalton, the best bloody man that ever scuttled a ship. I seen Russia. Gospodi po milieu. That's how the Russians
Russia
pray.
from my house.
That actually, he is right. That is how they pray. That means like something.
Hold on, let me check the annotations. Give me a minute.
Lord have mercy. That's what it means.
Yeah,
Lord have
there it
mercy.
is.
He saw a crocodile bite the fluke of an anchor,
Neat.
and he saw horses. He saw man-eaters in Peru that eat corpses and the livers of horses. Look here. Here they are. A friend of mine sent me, and he pulls out a picture that says Choza de Indios, Beni, Bolivia. Now,
Sure, dude.
I may not know my geography, but Bolivia and Peru are not the same, right?
Yeah, and also I do know my geography, and Bolivia's a landlocked country, so I'm very interested how the sailor got there. Hey, man.
Yeah, so there's
Right? No ocean.
there's no evidence of man-eating tribes in Peru. They did find
Ooh.
some in Bolivia, but none in Peru. The annotations even point out it is notable that Bolivia is landlocked. Also,
that is
especially at the time, it was like uncolonized, unexplored. Because
it was mostly empty. After the collapse of the Spanish Empire and all the revolutions going on there, it was like just more cows than people at that point. Because they got rid of all the people.
And it was mostly like the coastal regions that were actually like being developed
settled.
because they were just there for trading, and that's where the ports are and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just keeps rambling. So this is as far as I read. Brandon, you want to take over, or do we want to?
I think we need to push on a little bit further
Alright.
because we started later. We can push on a bit later.
Let's keep going. Give us the highlights.
Right. He does some more rambling, some vague imperialist gibberish about the natives that he may or did not see. He's probably a sailor. Though Bloom is thinking to himself, because one of the things you need to note in this chapter, it did catch me off guard a couple times, is that the narration shifts sometimes from third person to back to first person, but then back to third person again. Because sometimes it's Bloom says some I statements and thinks some I thoughts, and then sometimes it's Steven thinking those I thoughts. Then it comes back to the narrator, sort of capturing the mood of like stumbling around at 1 a.m. We've all been there. There's some fun stuff about naval knowledge because he's like, this guy's probably a sailor, probably hasn't done all this stuff firsthand. He's doing the sailor thing where like they hear stories second hand, third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand, and then just sixth, seventh, eighth, so on, so forth. Amen. And just getting bigger and more
And
ridiculous.
woman.
And our woman. God, so good.
Anyway, I digress.
It's just, and then Bloom just sort of is ignoring him, which is what you do
Yes,
when a guy's
yeah.
telling you long, boring stories just about his vacation. He's thinking about, one time, this guy was on a boat. Once I was on a boat to London, and we passed by some places on the way to London. He lists them off.
Yeah, he's
thinking
taken
about-
he's taken the ferry.
Yeah, he's taking the ferry to London. He calls it the modern Babylon.
Taking Thomas Isengard.
Yeah, some great English names: Plymouth, Falmouth, Southampton, Eastbourne, Scarborough, Margate, Bournemouth. He's in the sort of, and then he kind of goes on thinking places where I would like to go on a boat to. It's like, I would like to go see the Channel Islands, and then when I was there, I saw a show, an Irish. And then he was in Wales. I was thinking, maybe I should go to Wales one day and see some stuff there. The Fishguard, Ruslar wrote, Fishguard is a village in Wales. Fun fact about Fishguard, that is the site of the last invasion of mainland Britain.
Yes, I too have seen citation needed.
Yes, but some people haven't because they're weak.
Oh, no.
And he's sort of thinking great Bloom thoughts. The toppies and the circumlocution departments with the usual quantity of red tape and the dilly-dallying of a fat fogeydom and dunderheads generally. A great, as you do.
A fat fogeydom and dunderheads
Generally.
Generally. Right.
Yeah. Look, I'm just reading. If someone else wants to look at the annotations, they can do that for fun and interrupt me whenever they want.
No,
Alright.
keep going.
I'll see if there's anything interesting.
And he's just sort of thinking about how boring things are. He's kind of, maybe he should have traveled more. And at this point, we're so far gone that the he's that it's referring to, it could be in Bloom's thought, or the story that the sailor is mixing with his own thoughts and just becoming a terrifying blob. He's I've only ever gone to other places in Ireland, thinking about, there's some history there. About the rhododendrons several hundred feet above sea level, or some cliffs. Then he turns back, and then he just flips the card over. It's and then he goes to Steve, and then we're back to the sailor. We're definitely back to the sailor now, who's again continuing to go on and on and on. Now he's been in China, and he says what the Chinese are doing. Though he doesn't exactly use the word Chinese.
He says Chinese one time.
Once. And then the other time he says something else.
Apparently
Grandpa.
the Chinese have invented those little foam dinosaur pills.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a little dinosaur oatmeal.
I seen a Chinese one time related to the Dottie narrator that had little pills like putty, and he put them in the water and they opened and every pill was something different. One was a
Yeah, they
ship,
invented sea
another was a
monkeys.
house, another was a flower. This one was
I
a
don't
T-Rex.
think those were that old.
Apparently they are, which is pretty
Wild.
funny.
I always make them to be a 50s thing.
I don't know. Evidently they were not.
Yeah, I do want to know how they make that works. I would like to know, because I want to know how to make it myself. Because that would really spice up my oatmeal if I could make my own little dinosaur eggs. And there's a great sentence here. Possibly perceiving an expression of dubiosity on their faces, the globetrotter went on, adhering to his adventures. So now everyone's like, okay, this guy's full of shit. He's like, I don't care. I got a captive. What are you gonna go? Not to the place where there's warm coffee when you're all drunk? And he's like, I saw a man get stabbed. And he's like, okay.
Wait,
He saw a man get stabbed. Treaced by an Italian. Knife in his back. Knife like that.
I just
And
had.
then he pulls a knife out. And of course this is.
Oh,
a
he
guy who
literally
carries
just
a knife
pulled
with
his
him.
knife out. Of course. I had a terrifying realization.
Oh, good.
The sailor might have been lying. about the
Oh, no.
dinosaur pills.
That's crazy.
Those might not be real.
What?
Sailors telling tall tales.
Maybe he had
There's the
sailed to the
thought.
future.
Anyway, someone look it up. See if those are real.
Oh,
I
shit.
want to know.
See, if he sailed one way around the globe, he would have gone into the future, and then he came the other way around to go back, bringing him
Not
back
the
into the past.
international. Yeah, that's how the international dateline works.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
Very few know this. Many are saying this. And then like our narrator of the story itself is like, after which harrowing denouement sufficient to appall the stoutest, he snapped the blade to instow the weapon in question. So it's like, it's like, okay, now he's done, and then he's not done.
He just keeps going.
He keeps going. So he stops telling his like international travel stories.
1970s is when the expandable water toys that I think we're all thinking of were invented.
Yes.
Oh, I was thinking of dinosaur egg oatmeal, but okay.
What made you think of that?
I saw a
Fuck if
post
I
on
know.
Reddit the other day about dinosaur egg oatmeal.
What was the post on Reddit about? I want to hear about posts.
It was about dinosaur egg oatmeal. It was just a picture of dinosaur egg oatmeal that was like, look at this dinosaur egg oatmeal. This episode
Well,
is
is this one
brought
of
to you
those-
by dinosaur egg oatmeal.
What are those hashtag relatable content? Do not relate to me. Do not perceive me.
So yeah,
And then-
it's really weird that he describes this thing that was later invented in the 70s.
Joyce's brain was just that big. He didn't need to perceive time linearly. He saw all realities at once.
I mean, it is possible that the Chinese had something, I don't know, maybe it was like cloth and they ball it up and then when it gets wet, it expands. Something. Could be.
But it's really funky. It's like a modern audience being like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, those
Yeah,
things. I
because
remember them from
immediately
my
it's like,
childhood."
oh, those fucking the dinosaur things.
I just don't doubt it for a second. It's like, oh, the Chinese invented them. Sure, why not? Wild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so back to this
And then
drunken
he-
sailor.
Yeah.
What
would you
page
do?
what page are you on right now?
I am on 1022.
Okay.
Keep up.
Yep. I just want to make sure I didn't fall behind.
I'm trying to drum along a pace. It's been too long. Mr. Bloom kind of starts. I think in more Bloom thoughts. He's personally concerned. He's pondering in a pensive mood.
Very pensive.
Yes, he is.
Mhm.
He's very serious. He's doing the fingers crossed in front of the face thing.
Yes.
Some years. And then his thoughts get interrupted by the sailor, who wants his papers back. And then Mr. Bloom's like, asks a very pointed question. Or Leopold Bloom's like, have you seen Gibraltar? And the sailor's like, grimaces, where he doesn't confirm yes or no. And then so Bloom decides to play along. He's like, you touched there too, Mr. Bloom said Europa Point, thinking he had in the hope that the rover might possibly buy some reminiscence, but he failed to do so, simply letting Spirit a Jew of spew in the sawdust.
Hold on, try that again.
Spirit a jet of
Spirit of
spew.
a Jew.
Spurt
Spirit of
a
spew.
jet of
Spirit of
spew.
Massachusetts.
I'm going cross-eyed.
Spirit of
Maybe it's
America.
time to stop for the night.
And so he's like, and
Spirit
Mr.
of a
But
Jew.
no, we're getting to a good point. We're getting to a
Alright,
good
alright.
place here. Mr. Bloom,
Take
or
us to that good
Leopold Bloom,
place.
taking you to the good place, taking him to the bridge. Starts pressing him. It's like, so what boats did you see? And the sailor's like, I'm tired of all those rocks and boats and ships. And then finally he gives up. Bloom was able to get this guy to shut up by just asking for verification.
You're a sailor. Name every boat.
He didn't even say name every boat. He just said like, what boat were you on? Name a boat. Literally, he's like, name a boat.
Name one boat. Or did you see the Rock of Gibraltar? Now again, because as the 7th grade Buffalo Creek Middle School Geography B champion, I know for a fact that the failure of the sailor to not know what Gibraltar is means he probably didn't get to see Russia. or the Dardanelles, which is again on the Black Sea or anything in the Mediterranean, is you have
Yeah.
to go through Gibraltar in order to get there.
Mm-hmm. Unless you
Um,
spent a lot of time on land instead.
Yes, not a thing sailors are known for. Who's to say? But and then we get some good words. You know, some wily old customers who fell to wool gathering, and he's sort of Bloom. He's kind of going like, okay, maybe this guy's just pretending.
I'm not a sailor. I just play one on
He
TV.
played one on TV, yeah. Then we get, and then there's this very long paragraph on page 1023.
Oh, this goes.
It goes.
It goes. It goes. It goes. It goes. It goes. It goes.
It sucks.
Tachyon.
I played Death Grips for Josh, and he hated it.
Fucking the
No.
worst
How can
garbage.
you hate it?
Because it's bad.
I also hated
That's
Death
what makes
Grips
it
the
so
first
great.
time I heard Death Grips. Yeah. So
How
soon.
is it being bad make it so great? How does
That's-
that work?
Do you see? Normal music is just bad, but Death Grips
Right.
is so bad that it's
No, that is
good.
just worse than normal.
it's no. It takes talent to be bad.
No,
You gotta know all the right stuff so you can do everything wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't agree with.
And then
these
once you've done
statements.
everything wrong,
Fellas are churning out.
you're
like
doing
butter.
everything right. This episode brought to you by Death Grips.
Yeah, man. Listen to Ex-Military. Or look at the uncensored cover for No Love Deep Web.
I
And be
have a tremendous amount of respect for any musician that settles an argument with their record label by releasing their album on the internet for free with the cover just being a picture of your fat cock.
Yay, big dick.
And they did it. Look it up. Josh,
Did it.
Google No Love Deep Web. Do it.
I mean, you're gonna get the censored version.
No, you're not.
Unless you specifically ask for the uncensored version.
No, look, if
Uncensored.
you don't have to. It's up there. Just turn your safe search off.
No.
He like wrote in Sharpie on his dick. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. We get past this very long
Wikipedia has it
and
uncensored.
Yeah, it's art.
voice.
It's art.
So there's this very long and beautiful paragraph with the best words where Bloom is, I think it's Bloom is thinking about how this sailor is probably not like an international, like a guy who just works in the harbor and is just wishes he could be an international sailor, and so is just putting on this show. And then the sailor just keeps going back to talking again, which is a shame. And it sort of goes back and forth for a bit, and let's see if there's a natural endpoint here. Trying to find an endpoint here. I'm trying to get us to stick the landing.
This isn't just any picture. This was taken at the Chateau Marmont.
Is that a fancy hotel or something?
Fancy hotel in LA where they spent 2 months before the leak.
I see.
I think, yeah, we're gonna end it where the sailor just starts showing off his tattoos.
This big meaty cock.
Yeah.
If only.
And then another guy, and he starts telling about his tattoos, which is ooh.
Well-
the only tattoo I'm interested in
There we go.
is
Here's
Ben
tattoos.
Affleck's giant phoenix tattoo, which is so terrible. And it's the entirety of his back.
Nice.
It's yeah. And then I think let's just end it on 1027 where just a new guy just shows up. A new guy drops and
New
arrives
guy.
at
New
the
guy
coffee
just
house.
dropped. The
And that
the
will-
face of a
and that will be-
streetwalker.
Glazed and haggard under a black straw hat, peered askew round the door of the shelter, palpably reconnoitering on her own with the object of bringing more
What are
grist
you
to her
saying?
mill.
Exactly. Who is this mysterious streetwalker? Tune in
Tune
next
in
time.
on Dragon Ball Z.
Same bat channel, same bat time.
Has this been an episode of Dragon Ball Z this whole
Yes.
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 time? God, why can't I ever pay attention to what's going on?
Alex, did you just cut it?
No.
No.
Oh.
No, we're live. We're
Alex,
rolling.
make your goddamn hard drive